Shukacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad Abhaya Charanaravindra Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Vishnupada Mahotsaha Prabhu Ashtotar Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Thakur Shri Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Namacharya Shahadas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Ki Ganga Mai Ki Jamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulasi Devi Ki Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki taking on the word worship Prabhupada stands in the distribution that one national farm communities Ki Jai. All glories to symbol devotees. All glories to symbol devotees. All glories to the symbol devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna. Srimati Bhakti Vikas Swami. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 6, text number 29. Tartiyena Svabhavena Bhagavat Nabhim Ashritaha Ubayoho Antaram Vyoma Ye Rudra Parsadam Ganaha Tartiyena Svabhavena Bhagavan Abhimashitaha Ubhayorantaram Vyoma Ye Rudra Parshadam Ganaha Tartiyena Svabhavena Bhagavan Abhimashitaha Ubhayorantaram Vyoma Ye Rudra Parshadam Ganaha Tartiyena Svabhavena Bhagavan Abhimashitaha Ubhayorantaram Vyoma Ye Rudra Parshadam Ganaha Tartiyena Svabhavena Bhagavan Abhimashitaha Ubhayorantaram Vyoma Ye Rudra Parshadam Ganaha. Please repeat.
Tartiyena Svabhavena
Tartiyena Svabhavena
Bhagavan Abhimashitaha Ubhayorantaram Vyoma
Ubhayorantaram Vyoma
Ye Rudras Parshadam Ganaha
Ye Rudra Parshadam Ganaha
Tartiyena Svabhavena
Tartiyena Svabhavena
Bhagavan Abhimashitaha
Bhagavan Abhimashitaha
Ubhayorantaram Vyoma
Ubhayorantaram Vyoma
Ye Rudra Parshadam Ganaha
Ye Rudra Parshadam Ganaha
Tartiyena Svabhavena
Tartiyena Svabhavena
Bhagavan Abhimashitaha
Bhagavan Abhimashitaha
Ubhayorantaram Vyoma
Ubhayorantaram Vyoma
Rudra Parshadam Ganaha
Ye Rudra Parshadam Ganaha
Tartiyena Svabhavena
Tartiyena Svabhavena
Bhagavan Abhimashitaha
Bhagavan Abhimashitaha
Ubhayorantaram Vyoma
Ubhayorantaram Vyoma
Rudra Parshadam Ganaha
Ye Rudra Parshadam Ganaha
Mataji.
Tartiyena Svabhavena Kartiyena Swabhavena Bhagavanabhimashita Ubhayarantanam Vyoma
Kartiyena, by excessive development of the third mode of material nature, the mode of ignorance.
By excessive development of the third mode of material nature, the mode of ignorance.
Swabhavena, by such nature. Bhagavat Nabhim, the abdominal navel of the gigantic form of the personality of Godhead.
The abdominal navel of the gigantic form of the personality of God.
Ashritaha, those who are situated. Upayoho, between the two. Antaram, in between. Vyoma, the sky. Ye, all of whom. Rudra Parshadam, associates of Rudra. Ganaha, population. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Living entities who are associates of Rudra develop in the third mode of material nature or ignorance. They are situated in the sky between the earthly planets and heavenly planets. Purport. In the middle portion of the sky is called Bhuvarloka, as confirmed by both Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti and Srila Jiva Goswami. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that those who develop the mode of passion are situated in the middle region. Those who are situated in the mode of ignorance are promoted to the regions of the demigods. And those who are situated in the mode of passion are placed in human society. And those who are situated in the mode of ignorance are placed in the society of animals or ghosts. There are no contradictions in this conclusion. Numerous living entities are distributed all over the universe in different planets, and are so situated in terms of their own qualities in modes of material nature. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapatam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utafala Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padhan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Shah Hey Krishna Karna Sandhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanushate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sandhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishamebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminati Namine Hari Janagana Badi Gnana Karmanda Hari Prakatita Para Bhaktir Bhakti Siddhanta Kantihi Vinaya Nikara Lakshmi Nimna Maidaya Ragamyo Bhuvijayati Vikaso Bhakti Purvo Yatindraha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Vagisha Yashivadane Lakshmi Yashivakshisi Yashyasa Hidaya Samvitam Nrsimhamaham Bhaje Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Kati Vashalam Pangam Langaite Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dintarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Yasya Deve Para Bhaktir Yata Deve Tata Guru Tashyate Katita Hyata Prakashante Mahatmanaha. So we're reading this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the name of the chapter is called Creation of the Universal Form, and specifically described over here that those who are in the mode of ignorance, they are situated in the sky, between the earthly planets and the heavenly planets. In the universal form, the Bhagavat Nabhim, the navel of the universal form, is where Rudra comes from, at least in this description. And this is, Jiva Goswami actually says, two things are very easy to understand as far as the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy is concerned. Two things which are easy to understand is Ishvara Tattva, the truth about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Jiva Tattva, the truth about the living entities. This is, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's the fountainhead of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhu mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samamata. Krishna is the source of everything that we see. Krishna is the fountainhead of all that we see. And living entities are, eternal parts and parcels of Krishna. Mamai vamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manashashrani indriyani prakritim stani karshiti. That we are all living entities. We have all these different senses. They have an eternal parts and parcels of Krishna. So this is very easy to understand. Jiva Swaruphoy Krishna Nityadas. Okay, we understand what servants of Krishna. But two things which are actually hard to understand, which Jiva Goswami says, is one thing hard to understand is Guru Tattva. The spiritual master should be Acharya Mam Vijaniyam, that Navamani Itakarhisha. We should look at the spiritual master to be non-different from Krishna in the sense that not that he is Krishna himself, but he's such a close confidant of Krishna that you give him the same worship and same level of respect, and you take his words very seriously. So that is very hard to understand. But how is that living entity? Like even I was just listening to a lecture of Bhakti Vikas Maharaj recently, and he's saying that for a jiva to be guru is actually it's impossible for a jiva to be a guru. It's only the mercy of Krishna that is coming through the spiritual master. So it's a complicated thing for us to understand. Another thing complicated for us to understand is Shiva Tattva. This is what is this? It's really confusing. Knowledge about Lord Shiva. So we see over here that Prabhupada is saying in these purports that those who are in the mode of ignorance, they become associates of Rudra. They become associates of Rudra. And this is very interesting because we see that Rudra is the aspect of destruction. We see this over here. And it becomes complicated. Why? For this reason that Shriram yata dadi vikara vishesha yoga sanjayate nahi tataf pratagasti hetoho yasham bhutam apitata samupaiti karyat govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. That the example is given in the Brahma Samhita that Lord Vishnu is considered to be milk, and Lord Shiva can be compared to, Lord Vishnu can be compared to milk, and Lord Shiva can be compared to yogurt. And when milk comes in touch with what is called yogurt culture, right? That's what it's called, right? When milk comes in touch with yogurt culture, then at a certain point of time it's still milk, but then when it comes in touch, and as time goes on, it becomes more and more of yogurt. So we can see like that. That actually the Lord Shiva, so there's an aspect of Lord Shiva, the original Lord Shiva, I guess we could say, is Sadashiva, where he is on the top. He actually is, he's above the material world. There's an aspect of the spiritual world where Lord Sadashiva resides. But then as he keeps associating with the material energy more and more and more and more, then there's 11 different aspects of Rudra. And we see this, that just and we can think about it, that there's initially lots of milk and very little yogurt culture, but then as time goes on, it completely becomes yogurt. So similarly, these different aspects of the Sadashiva, and then then he comes more and more in touch with material energy, and then there's the Rudras, and this is very amazing actually to see and understand these points. So Prabhupada writes also in this purport over here that those who are situated in the mode of goodness are promoted to the regions of the demigods, and those are situated in the mode of passion, they're situated on the same plane as human beings, and those in the mode of ignorance, they glide down to various lower species of life. So this is very important to understand, and at no point of time does a devotee forget that the modes of material nature are always there, and they're always fighting for superiority amongst each other. I was reading in the 11th canto a couple of years ago that when Mahavishnu glances at the material at Mahat Tattva, and all the living entities are impregnated, from that time that the glance touches the Mahat Tattva, the three modes of material nature are constantly fighting with each other. They're in constant fight with each other to see who is going to dominate. Sometimes the mode of goodness dominates the mode of passion and ignorance. Sometimes the mode of passion dominates the mode of goodness and ignorance. And sometimes the mode of ignorance dominates the mode of passion and goodness. So this fight is always going on. And it's always going on. And it's also going on within the minds of the living entities. Always going on. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Purusha prakriti stohi bhumte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangasya sadasadyoni janmashu. That there's living entities which are there, they're always fighting. Purusha prakriti stohi. They're fighting with the modes of material. They're combinations of the three modes of material nature. And depending upon which guna they have the most sangha with, Purusha bhumte prakriti karanam guna sangasya. The reason living entities get material bodies, the reason living entities get material minds, is because of that association with the modes of material nature. Karanam guna sangasya. The reason, karanam means reason, guna is modes of material nature, sangasya is association. Because they're associating with certain kinds of modes of material nature, they receive certain kinds of bodies, they receive certain kinds of minds, they receive a certain kind of inclination through the false ego, they receive all these things. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Shotra, Chakshu, Sparshanam, Cha, Rasanam, Ganamevacha. That the living entities receive different types of senses depending upon what modes of nature they're associated with. There's 8.4 million different permutations and combinations of the three modes of material nature. That's why there's 8.4 different million species of life. That's why a living entity attains a particular type of body, particular type of, inclination. Like, we can even see over here in our, in the human society in itself, we see that there's so many living entities who are all, we can lump them up and we can say they have similar karma, but not necessarily. Even if they have a similar type of karma, even amongst them, then there's different likings and there's different things and this and that and all the other things. That's why, when you say Indian food, like what does that mean? There's so many different varieties of food depending on which part of India you're from. My body, being born in South India, until I came to, the Association of Devotees, I never really even tasted a rasgulla in my life. It's just like, it's not something which I was even aware of. Maybe I had Shrikant once or twice, but I never even had a rasgulla in my life. Because of the different, part of India that I was born and brought up in. The different modes of material nature, people have different kinds of, like in a particular part of the world, people have similar kinds of tongues, similar kinds of eyes, similar kinds of noses, similar kinds of, skin tone, similar kinds of accents, similar kind, this and that. Why? Because they're associating with a particular flavor of the mode of passion. We can see they're associating with a particular flavor of the mode of passion. And because we're associating with a particular flavor of the mode of passion, then we get all these different senses. And along with the different senses, you get the different sense objects. We see this. There's so many sense objects. And you find different sense objects in different parts of the world, right? In India, I don't think I've ever had maple syrup. I never heard of maple syrup, right? Ramshi, did you ever have maple syrup? Never, right? Probably after 45 years you're having maple syrup, right? I never even thought of like, whoa, sap from a tree is going to taste like maple syrup. Wow, it's going to taste. I don't think it immediately comes off like that. It has to be a whole bunch of things happens in Canada or something. And then, right, people, Canada's famous for maple syrup. So yes, wow, maple syrup was so amazing. Wow. And because of the different senses, people have different sense objects awarded to them by material energy. Different sense objects are awarded to us. So we can also see, then there's in India, for example, there is, let's just say, a samosa, right? Samosa, did any of the Americans ever have a samosa? Never, right? You had, because you used to go to Indian restaurants or whatever, right? But, samosa or a kachori, wow, it's like it's coming from Gaur Leela, right? Prabhupada likes kachori so much. Shark, all these amazing things, whoa. There's different kinds of sense objects. But ultimately, everything needs to be offered to Krishna. Otherwise, we'll be bound up in the three modes of material nature. This is how it works. When we're bound up in three modes of material nature, then we understand this. And one should understand that if one receives a human form of life, according to Bhagavad Gita, they are primarily associated with the mode of passion. But there's a high level of sattva guna that they're also associating with if they are if they have the mentality of a brahmana. But if they depending upon which varna, we can see that they have a high level of sattva that they're associating with. But according to what is stated over here, right here, that those who develop in the mode of passion are situated in the middle region. So ultimately why? Because the mode of passion, we have this tendency to expand and do this, that, and the other thing, do all these big amazing things, and we can see that how did this big, and I've shared this anecdote so many times, but I really like to think about this a lot. This is Srila Prabhupada. He was in 1975 Rath Yatra in New York. Were you there for that one, Prabhu? 1975 Rath Yatra?
Yes.
You were there, Mata? Yeah, of course, both of you were in New York. So he just had given Tripurari Maharaj sannyas at the age of 26. inconceivable.
He what?
He just gave Tripurari Maharaj sannyas
Oh, yes.
at the age of 26. And Tripurari Maharaj was sitting in the Rath cart with Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada said, Tripurari Maharaj, have you seen the beauty of the women of New York? He's telling that to a sannyasi. And Tripurari Maharaj is saying, I'm 26 years old, Prabhupada just gave me sannyas. And then, he doesn't answer anything. And then he said, Tripurari Maharaj, did you see the beauty of the women of New York? And then Tripurari Maharaj again didn't answer. He said, just see, by the power of their beauty, this whole big city of New York has come about. And then Tripurari Maharaj understands, like, wow, just see how Prabhupada is seeing everything in relationship with Krishna. He's seeing this Vishnu Maya, the power of this Vishnu Maya. It's so amazing. This big city of New York came about just from the mode of passion. These people are feeling so passionate looking at their sense object that boom, this whole big city came about. It's huge. It's really huge. And we can see that even in America, we've seen that different people have, there's like different levels of karma and different kinds of things. Like, for example, there is a stark difference between New York and Mississippi, right? There's a stark difference between New York and Mississippi. We see, it's so completely different because the lands are different. The roads are horrible in Mississippi. And, but it's not, in New York it's different. And there's a stark difference between, let's say, California and Alabama. There's a big difference because the modes of material nature are acting so differently. They're acting so differently in different places. And, from a far distance you may think, oh, it's just America. But, even in America, there's so many different people and people are so different. Why? Because they're associating differently with the modes of material nature. And if this is true in the human society, that we can perceive with our mundane senses, we can perceive and see all these things, then what to speak about societies of living beings which we cannot perceive? We cannot perceive. There's some societies of living beings. For example, Bhogavati is the capital of Nagaloka. Nagaloka is capital of Bhogavati. That. And the presiding, who is the king of Bhogavati? Who is the king? Krishna says, of serpents I am? Vasuki, right? So Vasuki, he's the king of all the serpents. He's the king of all the Nagas. And we see that he has this whole Nagaloka. It's a whole other world in itself. There's living entities who are Nagas. They have all these different powers and opulences, and it's really wonderful. They have all these different potencies that they can do. And depending upon, and if we read different shastras, we see that we think, oh, demons. But even amongst demons, Hiranyakashipu was what was he? The king of the Daityas, right? Hiranyakashipu was the king of the Daityas. Then there's kings of Danavas, then there's kings of Rakshasas, and there's Yakshas. There's all these different varieties of living entities. This 8.4 million species of life is not a joke. It's real. And depending on how we associate with the modes of material nature, we're given so many different sense objects. Depending upon this, if you read the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, you see the difference of all the description of all the different planetary systems which are situated in the whole in this whole material creation. And they're all completely different. They're completely. And there's 14 planetary systems, but there's millions of planets. There's millions of planets with different, and that's just this one universe. It's so tiny. It's so small. It's a mustard seed. And, it's just like, Lord Chaitanya says, if you have a bag of mustard seeds and one mustard seed goes away, who's going to worry about it? Who's going to care about it? It's just a mustard seed. And it's like that. It's just a mustard seed. And we have the smallest universe. Why? Why do we have the smallest universe? Because our Lord Brahma has only 4 heads. Not only 4 heads, but he has 4 heads. Lord Brahma has 4 heads. But then there's Brahmas with 8 heads. There's Brahmas with 32 heads. There's Brahma with millions of heads. Million-headed Brahma. Now, how can we conceive of someone having a million? Can we conceive of someone having 1,000,000 heads? Like even 4 heads is like, okay, I've seen picture of Kamlini in Kamlini Mataji's house. There's this picture of Lord Brahma. There's a picture of Lord Brahma right here. But okay, 4 heads. But then then there's a conception, we could see there's a conception of, I've seen that painting, I think it's in the Madhya Leela or something, where there's like a Lord Brahma with so many heads, right? But it's not millions of heads, right? If we counted all the heads, maybe 100 heads, right? But there's like Lord Brahma with millions of heads, and like, and how exactly does it work and all this thing? And you may think, come on, this is all just like, mumbo jumbo. But we can even see, on Earth, we went to the reptile convention, right? You and me went to the reptile, and there's some crazy living entities, crazy species of life, there's something completely crazy. And then we just looked this up just recently. There's snakes with 2 heads. You can just look up 2-headed snake. You can look this up. It's real. It's there. Like these like small heads. It's a snake and it has 2 heads. 2 heads. It has 2 heads. And it says that sometimes these heads they have like their own eyes and whatever. They don't have nose, but they have like their tongues and they have their own sense of thinking and all that. And sometimes, when they catch food, one head might just want to eat it on its own, and the other one gets envious and starts biting the other head. It's crazy. We were just seeing this just recently. It's insane. How is it that and it's there like that, and we can see. So then in the description of Shastra, it says there's so many hooded serpents. There's so many different things, and and the modes of material nature are so complicated to understand. They're so hard to grasp. Why? Because it's an energy of Krishna. The energy of Krishna. So when one analyzes, why is this given? Okay, what's the point? All right. What does this have to do with us loving Krishna? Right? How are we relishing the fruit of love of Godhead by reading this? Why does Lord Chaitanya say, Prati Shloke Prati Akshare Nana Arthakar? From each and every syllable, there's unlimited meanings. And Sanatana Goswami says, every syllable of the Bhagavatam rains down unlimited Krishna Prema. Why is that? Because this is supposed to invoke in us Adbhuta Rasa. This is a very important thing. Adbhuta Rasa. That we're completely awestruck and wonderful. Wow. And, and then at the end of it all, he's like running with his friends and they're all chasing after him, and he's like running away from his mom. It comes down to that. Ultimately, God is running away from his mom. And it's hard for us to conceive. What the heck is this? But that's what all this. It's meant to invoke a certain kind of adbhuta rasa that we think, whoa, is very amazing. And we can even see in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that Vishwarupa, he was the priest for Indra's. For one of Indra's yajna, and then he tells him, look, I'm an asura, and because I'm an asura, I may have some inclinations for the daityas, I may have inclinations for whoever I may have inclinations for. And then Indra says, okay, no problem. But then Indra gets really fried out with him, and then in a fit of anger cuts off his 3 heads. So Twasta, right? Twasta was the name of the Brahmana, right? Twasta was the name of the Brahmana, and he cuts off 3 heads. So there's a demon, and then in the Bhagavatam is given, okay, one head was used for drinking wine, the other head was used for eating this, and the other head was used for what? How is this a Brahmana drinking wine and eating meat? But then according to that, if you read in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in different places, there's different, although the same Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra are there, but it's different. The way they arrange the society is different, because in that particular, combination of the modes of material nature, because in the combination of modes of material nature, they're given these kinds of eyes, nose, and all these things, and the way they perceive this material world is different, and the way they function is different. So all of this is supposed to invoke an adbhuta rasa. And we see in Shastra, there's even descriptions about, let's just say, okay, Ravana. He was on his Digvijaya Yatra, right? He wanted to prove that he's the absolute ultimate, guy, like the guy, he wanted to conquer all directions. So, we see he goes, they're all fighting he's fighting with different rishis, and then, he wants to fight with the demigods. And when he fights with the demigods, then he has Indrajit in the front, Kumbhakarna in the back. He gets all these other Danavas, Daityas, all of them, and they're all marching towards heaven, and they're fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. And Ravana is actually on the verge of losing, but then his son Indrajit, his son Meghanada, goes and captures Indra and takes him as a captive to Lanka. And then, Ravana won. After capturing the heavenly planets, there's a description of how Ravana goes into different abodes, and then he goes and he starts fighting with these Danavas. They are known as Nivata Kavachas, actually. And there he fights with them, and they're fighting for 1 whole year. And because both of them receive benedictions from Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma finally comes and says, why don't you become friends? Why don't you become friends? So they become friends. And then while Ravana is there, because Danavas, they have their own modes of material nature, they have their own tricks. Ravana learns 100 conjuring tricks from them. He learns how to, conjure and do all these things. That's why Prabhupada is saying numerous living entities are distributed all over the universe in different planets, and so situated in terms of their own qualities in the modes of material nature. So Prabhupada is saying this over here. They're situated in their own, according to their own terms and qualities, they're situated. They're situated accordingly. So we see all these descriptions are given in Shastra. The Danavas are like that. And then there's another group of lower species of life, which are demoniac per se, and Nivata Kavachas. They're also fighting. They have their own set of tricks and all this. And then Ravana goes further down, and then he defeats Vasuki and captures Bhogavati. And then he goes further down into Rasatala, and he goes and challenges the sons of Varuna, and he defeats all those living entities, and he becomes ruler like this. He is going to different parts of the universe, and all these different parts of the universe, there's so many varieties of living entities. So we see, and according to the modes of material nature a person is in, they will worship someone. According to the modes of material nature that they're in. That we see that even on this, in America we don't worship anyone. Is it true? In America, they don't worship anyone, they only worship God and Jesus. Is that true? Obviously not. Who do they worship? They worship rock stars, businessmen, sportsmen. Huh? No. I guess nowadays we even have some Russians worshiping Sai Baba. That's unfortunate. But we see, right? Your friend, whatever his name is, they also worship. So we see, in America, people are worshiping. They're worshiping so many different things. So depending upon the modes of material nature, they also have their objects of worship. They also have their objects of reverence. For example, in Vedic culture, the shoes of the spiritual master that were put on the highest level of worship, the padukas of the acharya, are kept on the highest level of worship, and and they really revere these shoes. They really revere these, and we can see when we go to Jogpeet, we can see the slippers of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We can see in Prabhupada's room recently, we saw Prabhupada's shoes. Amazing, and we worship them. But then the same culture of worship is also there in let's just say like the most even in this society right here. When we went to Akron, we had a BMS. No, we had a Comic-Con in Akron, and that's like some part of Cleveland. That's some part of Ohio. So some part of Ohio, and over there, it's famous for a place where a basketball player is from. So then, and someone was telling us in the high school, there's a big wall with his shoes, and the people are worshiping his shoes. Wherever whoever it is, they're worshiping their shoes. So the same worship is there in all aspects of society. That we see, oh yes, this person is a very, very rich person, but then he worships people who are richer than him. So depending, and then we see in the Bhagavad Gita, there's that beautiful painting, I guess. Anyways, beautiful. Some parts of it are beautiful, some parts of it are not. We say that a person who is in the mode of goodness, he's worshipping demigods and he's going to the heavenly planets. A person in the mode of passion is worshipping a king, so he can become like a king. So we see people of this world, when they're primarily so much in the mode of passion, they only worship people of this world. And so they can, acquire their qualities. And you meditate upon their qualities. You meditate upon them. Oh, he has his hair like this. He opened so many companies. This is his worldview. This is what they... And we see that people, they listen with so much attention. They listen to podcasts of these people. And they, their psyche. Completely forms their psyche. The way they think. All these things. the way they think, the way they behave. They emulate this. And my Guru Maharaj, I was listening to a recent class of this. There's this really amazing a series of lectures, and I strongly recommend devotees listen to it. It's called Next Life Meditations. It's a 4-series lecture, 5-series lecture, and the 4th series lecture is actually on the Mukunda Mala Stotra. But in this series of one of these lectures, Maharaj was saying how he was traveling in a train from India. In India, he's traveling in a train, and he's looking outside the window, and he could see some children. They were playing cricket. And the way the children were, one guy was leaning on his bat, and the other guy was looking like serious, and he was seeing that, whoa, these people are just imitating the sports stars that they're watching on television. The way they are, the way they hold the bat, the way they're leaning on the bat. And without knowing that, imbibing their characteristics and mannerisms. The full concentration that these people have, full concentration. You must have concentration because, anyway, for those who don't know, cricket is like American, it is like Indian baseball, kind of. It's a waste of time. Don't even look into it. It's just a useless waste of time. But a ball is coming at you at such high speed, you better be concentrating, otherwise your face is going to break or something, So these kids are imitating these cricket players and cricketers, and they are on the worship of Acharya. In India, they're on the worship of Acharya. Such an important person. Why? Because he's swinging a bat and a ball. That's why he's on the level of an Acharya. So different people in different modes of material nature, they worship, they have their deities, they have people that they look up to, and they completely imbibe their qualities. So that's why the Bhagavatam recommends Mumukshavo Goro Rupan Hitva Bhuta Patinata Narayana Kalashanda Bhajantyanu Suyava. That the Vaishnavas, although they're non-envious, they worship the all blissful forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they don't worship the ghastly forms of the different deities of this material world, the Ghora Rupas, the scary, ghastly forms. We are respectful, but we don't worship them. We worship the all-beautiful form, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because when we worship the beautiful form, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we meditate upon His transcendental qualities, fame, pastimes, and all these other wonderful attributes about Krishna, then we start to acquire the qualities of Krishna. That is why, yes, you want to listen to podcasts, very good, but you listen to podcasts about Krishna. And not just some random podcasts which are famous these days and age, not those, but, the bona fide ones. You can listen to Prabhupada's lectures. You can listen to lectures of Prabhupada's faithful followers. And when we think like that, when we hear it and we start to think in a particular way, we start to look at the world through the eyes of Scripture. Otherwise, we're looking at the world through the eyes of blind men, actually. They don't really have eyes. Their eyes are shut. But they're speaking about their imaginary view of this material world. They're speaking about this. It's like this, it's like that. Yes, we are developing such amazing technology. Finally, there's AI. Now people don't have to die. All these kinds of things. This, that, this, that, this. There's so many things people are speaking about, people are doing. But ultimately, if we look at the whole world through the eyes of Scripture, if we look at the whole world through the eyes of Shastra, then we'll actually understand. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita it's recommended, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashrena sevaya. Upadekshanti de jnanam jnanana sattvadarshanaha. That we approach a bona fide spiritual master. We submit unto him. And why is a spiritual master bona fide? Because he is following Vidhi. And this Vidhi, my Guru Maharaj relates it to Bhagavad Gita chapter 16, text number 23. Is Yashastra Vidhi Mutsrija Vardhite Kamakarata Nasasiddhim Avapnoti Nasukamna Param Gatim. This Vidhi basically means Shastra Vidhi. That because the spiritual master is focusing on Shastra Vidhi, everything he's doing it according to Shastra. All the rules and regulations given in Shastra. Because he's doing this, he has Shastra Chakshusha. He's able to see the whole world through the eyes of Scripture. He's able to see all this. And because he's able to see this material world through the eyes of Scripture, then he's given transcendental vision. That is why there's 2 anjanas, there's 2 ointments described in Shastra. And what are these 2 anjanas, 2 ointments? Premanjana and Jnananjana. These 2, Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. that the spiritual master applies this ointment of knowledge upon the eyes of the disciples, so they can see this whole world as what it is. They can understand what illusion is. What is illusion? Ritirtam yad pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tad vidyadatmano mayam yata bhasha yata tamaha. That we see this entire material world, we see and we understand, okay, this is what it is. When we look at things and we don't see the relationship with Krishna, then we should know and understand that, hey, we are an illusion. But when we see things and we're associating it with Krishna, we should know that we are at least trying to be Krishna conscious. There's a simple way, straightforward way. But by doing this, then we don't have to take birth amongst any of these modes of material nature. We don't have to take birth. We don't need to get a body about any of these other things. We read in the 10th canto how Nanda Maharaj is explaining to Kamsa that the mind is creating our next body, or whatever we're thinking about, our next body is being created. All the sense objects we're thinking about, our next bodies are being created accordingly. So, instead of thinking about so many things of this material world, if we think about the pastimes of Krishna, if we think about the abode of Krishna, if we think about serving the devotees of Krishna, that is the best thing. Why? Because even if we don't make it back to the spiritual world, still we'll always remain in the association of devotees. That is the greatest benediction. Wherever the devotees are, there is the spiritual world. There's the spiritual world. It's really like that. It's really amazing, especially when you come back from Sankirtan after a long time, when you're finally at Darshanarthi. And there's, Govinda, Madhipur. It's really amazing to see the beautiful forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's such a really, like, wow, finally back home. It's a really amazing thing. When we're in the association of devotees and we're dancing in Kirtan, it's really fired up. It's amazing. This is the essence of life, to perform the Sankirtan Yajna. It's the essence of life. So coming in an association with the devotees, it's very important. And irrespective of which body we have, who is like one of the most powerful demons other than Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha that's described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Extensive, a good section of it. Very powerful demon. Vritrasura, right? I was thinking the same one. Vritrasura. Such a powerful demon, he has, such amazing ability, completely causing havoc. He's a pure devotee of Krishna. He's a pure devotee of Krishna. Vritrasura. He was a pure devotee of Krishna. Although he is born as a demon, he's a pure devotee of Krishna. We see, so it doesn't matter which kind of body we have or we may acquire. Krishna consciousness is transcendental to all material designations. It is not an artificial imposition on the mind. It's a real thing. And the more we focus on and the more we understand these aspects of our Krishna consciousness, the more we can transcend this modes of material nature. Why? Because that's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunat samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. That when one performs devotional service to Krishna, mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate, if one is able to transcend the three modes of material nature, you can transcend the three modes of material nature just by engaging in devotional service. Fully engaging in devotional service, one can transcend the three modes of material nature. It's very amazing. We can be freed from the influence of the modes of material nature. We can be freed from this. That's the most amazing thing. And that's why the Bhagavatam recommends Parthiva dharano dhuma sasmad agni srayimaya tamasastu rajas sasmat sattvam yad brahma darshanam. That we see and understand, yes, Parthiva dharano dhumas, that firewood is better than, smoke is better than firewood, but fire is better than smoke. Why? Because using fire you can perform yajna. So similarly, the mode of passion is better than the mode of ignorance, no doubt. But the mode of goodness is better than the mode of passion. Why? Because sattvam yad brahma darshanam. By being in the mode of goodness, we can transcend to the mode of pure goodness. We should not get stuck in the mode of goodness. Otherwise, like Prabhupada writes in this purport, we'll be promoted to the regions of the demigods. And when you're promoted to the regions of the demigods, we can go to the abodes of the demigods and we can enjoy and dance up and down with the apsaras. But then when we attain that, there's a description in Shastra that the demigods are thinking, it'll be nice if I can, attain a human birth and go back home, back to Godhead. Because that's the nature of material energy. No matter which modes of nature we're associating with, we are going to have we're going to have a certain amount of disappointment. Whichever sense object you attain for your sense gratification, know it for certain that there is going to be some level of dissatisfaction. There's going to be some level of dissatisfaction. That's just how the whole material world is functioning. It's designed by Krishna like that. That matter will not give us satisfaction. No one is satisfied by anything material. No one is satisfied. Why? Because if material things satisfy you, then you won't be greedy for them. You won't be greedy for them. Why is it? $400 billion is a lot of money. Right? But someone who has $400 billion, they want more money, because it doesn't satisfy you. If we think about this logically, okay, $400 billion. I think I'm good. I think I'm good now. But okay, now, we have a great amount of wealth. But we are trying to imitate Krishna. So Sadai Krishna, Sadai Shvarya Purna. So we want beauty, we want fame, we want knowledge, we want strength, we want all these things, and we want to be distinguished and recognized in all these different aspects. So we go and become one of the wealthiest people in the world. Now we also want to become one of the most famous people in the world. Now we become one of the most famous people in the world. Now we want to become one of the most beautiful people in the world. Now we want to be the most knowledgeable person in the world. We want to be it's completely ridiculous. And even if you get all these opulences, you're still not happy. You're still not happy. Hiranyakashipu had all these opulences. He's extremely famous, extremely wealthy, extremely knowledgeable, extremely powerful. He was extremely renounced for some time. Right? He was extremely renounced for some time, performed austerities which no one else ever performed. He performed these austerities, but then Kalanemi performs them, the same austerities anyway. But he performs such amazing austerities, inconceivable amount of austerities he performs. Then he, what else are we missing? Knowledge of Shastra, everything. He got all these opulences. He was sitting on the abode of the heavenly plane. He was sitting on the throne of Indra, and he was completely drinking the most intoxicating beverages, but he was still dissatisfied. Why? Because his senses were not under control. His senses were not under control. Therefore, he was associating with all these modes of material nature. He attained everything which only living beings in the topmost level of even, the demigods have to be in such mode of goodness to live the way they live. Indra has to be in such mode of goodness to live, to get the opulence that he got. But still, you finally go and you get it and you're dissatisfied. It's crazy. The greatest amount of opulence that's there in the material world will not satisfy the living entity. Will not satisfy the living entity. Real satisfaction comes when one is serving Krishna. That is real satisfaction. Real pleasing, the real thing which actually pleases the living entity is to see that Krishna is pleased. Krishna is pleased. That's why the ultimate Swartha Gati is to serve Vishnu. Natevidu Swartha Gatim hi Vishnu. People don't realize that the ultimate Swartha Gati is to serve Lord Vishnu. And when they don't realize this, they're stuck in this material world. They get so many different ideas. We can go and we can see there's so many different people. They have so many different ideas. But all their ideas have one outstanding flavor. You can forget Krishna like this. No. You can forget Krishna like that. Matter of fact, no, I have a better idea. We can forget Krishna like this. Let's forget Krishna the American way. No matter of fact, let's forget Krishna the German way. Let's forget Krishna the English way. Oh, and even in English, let's forget him the Manchester way. No, let's forget him the Liverpool way. Let's forget him like this and let's forget him like that. Let's forget him in all these different aspects. But it's wherever you look, whatever you do, it's simply different ways and means of trying to forget Krishna. People are trying to forget Krishna. And then not only do we try to forget Krishna, we try to laud our method of forgetfulness of Krishna over others' method of forgetfulness of Krishna. That's the whole material world. That we are trying to laud it over the material, laud it over everyone else, laud it over like this, laud it over like that. Whatever achievements we may achieve, if we start to laud it over others, especially if we start lauding it over devotees, then we're in the wrong consciousness. We're completely in the wrong consciousness, lauding it over. So we say everyone in this material world is trying to laud it over someone else. Every living entity is trying to laud it over someone else. Every living entity. Trying to laud it over like this, laud it over like that. The owner of the house is trying to laud it over the gardener of the house or the mower of the house, whatever, if he can even afford. Then the guy's boss is trying to laud it over him. His boss is trying to lord it over him. His wife is, the boss's wife is trying to lord it over him. The children are trying to lord it over the mother. The teachers are trying to lord it over the children. Everyone is trying to lord it over someone else. Whatever they have, whatever they may accrue. And even if they don't have anything, they're still trying to lord it over. That's the most amazing thing. And one of the most amazing things. It's very amazing. You see how deep-rooted this desire to lord it over other living entities is. That's how deep it is. So we can see and we can understand these points. So better, instead of trying to lord it over different living entities and trying to lord it over and do all these things, we simply try to worship Krishna and become completely surrendered to Krishna and pray for His mercy, pray for the mercy of the devotees, pray for the mercy of the previous acharyas. And by doing so, then we can be freed from this disease of lording it over everyone else. So I'll end the class here. If there's any questions or comments, we can take them now. Yes, Prabhu.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around this whole thing about Brahma has millions of heads. How many hands does he have? How can he fit in any room with all that? And
Yeah, I don't know.
Where is it stated in Shastra?
In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Krishna, there's this pastime where Lord Brahma comes to the doorstep of Krishna, and his gate comes to the abode of Krishna, and the gatekeeper stops him and says, "Okay, so who are you?" And then he says, "I'm Lord Brahma." So then he goes back and he informs Krishna, "Lord Brahma is here." Then Krishna asks him, "Which Lord Brahma?" Then the gatekeeper comes out and asks him, "Which Lord Brahma?" He said, "What do you mean? I'm Brahma, the four-headed Lord Brahma." And then he says, he goes to Krishna, the gatekeeper goes and tells Krishna, "The four-headed Brahma, Chaturmukhi Brahma, bring him in." So Lord Brahma comes, and then Krishna asks him, so Lord Brahma asks him, "My dear Lord, what did you mean by which Brahma? Am I not the only Brahma?" And then Krishna, he says, "No." And then he summons all these Brahmas from all the different universes. They all come and they offer their obeisances, and the touching of their helmets to the floor creates such a tumultuous sound, and there Lord Brahma sees all these different types of Lord Brahma. So it's mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
He's asking about Rama.
No, Brahma. He's asking about Brahma. Yeah. Anything else? Is that okay, Prabhu?
No comment.
It is certainly inconceivable for us, just like if we were to tell the measurement of a human being to an ant, he can't even conceive that we're here. An ant can't even conceive that we're here. Okay. A similar thing.
What's the meaning of Adbhuta Rasa? What is that?
Adbhuta Rasa, it means the rasa of being completely awestruck. You're awestruck by Krishna's opulence. Wow, amazing.
And in which pastime did you mention that in?
I was just speaking about how amazing the modes of material nature are, and how all these things are described in the Bhagavatam to invoke a level of us understanding. I don't know if we can, how awesome Krishna is, or when we look at what Krishna does, we should completely awestruck the way Krishna has a whole material world functioning. It's really amazing. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your class.
Okay. Anything else? Yes, Amayat Prabhu.
Can you explain more in details how it's the material modes of energy is fighting each other? Because this looks like sometimes we have seen society and the people who is in the mode of ignorance. They don't like who is impatient or sattvic, and who is impatient they don't like who is ignorance, and they envious for sattvic and sattvic. They not envious, but they also have some contradiction with these people. But in devotional service, it is not so important in which mode of nature you have, because we have Varnashrama and everyone can be devotee. We can see the Shudras also, they can be the pure devotees of Shri Krishna. How it's working and how it's important, and how we can apply in the devotional service, how it is fighting mode.
Ataf Pumbir Dvija Shreshta Varnashrama Vibhagasha Swanatishya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. that the different people, different devotees even, they may acquire bodies or mentalities or abilities of the different varnas. But if they're engaged according to their natural proclivities and they're engaged in Krishna consciousness, then they're all happy. Why? Because Krishna is happy. Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. But we can see even in our own life, for example, we see that from the time we wake up, especially if we didn't go to bed on time, then we're constantly fighting with the modes of material nature when we're chanting our japa, aren't we? Struggling to stay awake, and then sometimes maybe our mind is just, being going back and forth, going here and there, but we want to focus on the holy name. And sometimes, okay, finally, somehow by the mercy of Krishna, and then you're able to focus on the holy name when you're in the mode of goodness. So even in our own minds, there's a constant battle for the dominance of the modes of material nature. And then we see even when we're reading also the same problem. That is sometimes the mode of ignorance is trying to fight you and say, sleep. The mode of passion is like, what did I, you read through the whole thing, what did I just read? Huh? You ever feel like that? You read through a whole page and you're like, okay, next page. Wait, what? What? How did, it's like you're reading the whole, you're reading the Ramayana, this happened, like, wait, how does that? So it's a mode of passion. Unable to, but then when you're in the mode of goodness, then you're able to retain all these points. So there's, even in our own individual, we can examine every moment, okay, finally we're going out on Sankirtan, sitting and say, but, maybe like I can eat prasadam for half hour before I start. Or like, maybe I can, take my break or do this or unable to stay fixed, because the modes of nature are constantly fighting with us. But the pure devotees, there's no bar, or there's no blockage between their thinking and their doing, because they're thinking what the spiritual master wants them to think, and they immediately do it. There's no blockage of this. But for conditioned souls like myself, there's so much blockage, so many hang-ups. This is very, I guess I don't know if it's an Indian English word or or do Americans use it to hang-ups? Yeah, people have their own hang-ups, So we have mental hang-ups which block us, and these mental hang-ups are created by our association with the modes of material nature. We should see and understand these points. And the primary duty of a devotee is to make sure that he doesn't cultivate these material desires. I was telling these Prabhus yesterday, I was listening to the same Next Life Meditation series by Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, and that he's speaking about how he was reading this book by a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, who is writing in his book, how I wish Prabhupada is going to remember all the service I have done for him, all the intimate service. Now I'm growing old, I'm unable to, remember and serve this way. And it was very amazing sentiment to have. This is very amazing, so beautiful, so amazing. And the next chapter, he's writing about how he's watching a baseball game. How he's watching a baseball game, and eating whatever, watching and then the whole mentality may come about if we are primarily being covered over by the mode of ignorance or passion. I don't know, I guess it falls into the mode of ignorance if you're watching baseball, I guess, huh? But we don't know. But anyway, we say that one may think that, but I am at least honest about my material desires. Let's be honest. We all have material desires, but I'm honest about my material desires, and I'm honestly, I feel like I need to watch baseball, therefore I'm watching baseball. What's the problem? But the problem is, yes, we are honest. Yes, we do have material desires. We do have, but we should not cultivate them. We should cultivate Krishna consciousness. Material desires are there, but some level of spiritual desires are also there. Otherwise, we wouldn't come so far from our material life and taking initiation and chanting 16 rounds and doing all these things. We wouldn't come this far if there was no spiritual desire. But our duty is to cultivate that spiritual desire. We want to cultivate it. We don't want to cultivate our material desires. And yet that's the fight. That's the war between the modes of nature and the strict desire of the living entity. The modes of nature are fighting with each other to bewilder you, and then you have your own fight with your own mind to not come under the sway of the modes of material nature, and to be fixed in the service of Guru and Krishna. Guru or Hare Charno Pasana Astro. Jahi Vyalikam Swayamatma Mosham. Was that Pratravyam enam that adhabra viryam upekshaya yeditam apramataha gurur hare charno pasanasto jahivyalikam swayamatma mosham 5:11:17. Oh, it's not up? Anyway, it's not up. But we say that a person will never trust the mind. For example, what's like the most dangerous animal in Russia that roams about wildly?
Bear, I think.
Bear, okay. So let's just say you somehow captured a bear, and the bear is in the cage, and you see the bear and like, okay, he's like a little docile right now, and like whatever, he's not going crazy. Will you leave the door of the cage open? You won't leave the door of the cage. I mean, there's a freaking bear. He'll kill you. Huh? So our mind is worse than a bear. Our mind is worse than a bear. Why? Because the modes of nature are fighting. Yes, they're fighting with us. And these senses are like snakes which can strike you at any time. These snakes can strike you at any time. The snakes can strike us. Out of nowhere, boom, the snake will just strike us. I remember once Adi Purishpur was telling me how when he was in university, he was in a dorm room with one of his friends, and his friend had like this poisonous snake. We were seeing this in this repticon, whatever it's called. In crazy snakes, poisonous snakes. He's like, wow, like you actually got like this snake? So yeah, now he's my friend, I feed him these dead rats. It's so disgusting. I feed him dead rats, every day. And then like, he just like moved the lid of the whatever cage of the snake to feed him a rat or something instead of just putting it through the hole or something. And the minute he moved the lid, his pet snake immediately bit him. Boom. And he's like, he could see the effect of the poison, like how it was, affecting. He immediately took the guy to like the hospital and got him. But that's how the modes of nature are fighting constantly. They're constantly fighting. That's why there's so much unrest in society. That's why Prahlad Maharaj gives this example. Swasasti vishvasya kalaf prasidatam dhyayantu bhutani mito shivadiya manasya badram bhajatam adokshide aveshatam no matarapya haituki. It's very important. It's the words right before Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. Anyway, I'm sorry. I should know verse numbers by now. Huh? Sorry, it's embarrassing. Sorry. Om Namo. So it's 5:18:7, Srimad Bhagavatam. This is such a... Mukundada Prabhu asked me to memorize this verse 8 years ago. Sorry, Prabhu, which 5:18:7? Is this 5:18:7?
5:18:7.
Okay, can you go to the next verse? Next verse? Okay, this is it. Okay, sorry, it's 5:18:9. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga. For by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence Lord Krishna and always remain absorbed in thought of Him. That's the only solution. Is that okay?
Yeah, what is the conclusion? It means like we can stay in under the influence of any modes, material natures, but it's more dangerous when you stay in...
No. The conclusion is that the devotees should try their level best to cultivate the mode of goodness so they can transcend to the mode of pure goodness. And depending on whichever varna they're in, they should engage in pure devotional service at all times. That is the solution. No matter what varna is. If a person has a varna of being a Shudra, they can perform their service very dutifully, but understanding that idam Vishnave, idam namama. That is a solution. Whichever varna, whichever ashram they're in. Idam Vishnave, idam namama. This is for Vishnu, this is not for me. This is for Vishnu, this is not for me. Is that okay?
Yes. This means it's like the most important, the qualification of the person, like a king, who can engage all the citizens according to their varnas and ashramas.
Yeah,
like
yeah. The administrator. But then the kings also, they must be under the protection of the brahmanas. They must be. They must be under the guidance of the brahmanas. Otherwise, even Lord Ramachandra, he consults all these brahmanas. Who does he consult? Or he sometimes consults the Saptarishis, actually. I just almost memorized all the 7 Saptarishis. It's Vishwamitra, Vasishtha, Gautama, Kashyapa, Bharatvaja, and there's 2. I don't remember now. But he consults them. He consults Agastya Rishi. They consult brahmanas because they're in the mode of goodness, elevating to the mode of pure goodness. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, anything else? Yes, Apurva Prabhu.
Some guiding principle that I'm sure you're all aware of in our devotional service is to always remember with what I'm doing. Is this favorable for devotional service? Accept what's favorable, reject what's unfavorable.
That's practical.
And to help in always being in that consciousness is I always think, okay, would Prabhupada want me to be doing this? Like, is this going to be favorable to Prabhupada? Like, and that's why I always try and listen to Prabhupada lectures to see and hear what is his mood and how he wants us to go back to Godhead in good consciousness.
Yeah, Anukul yasya sankalpa, pratikul yasya varjanam. The accept was favorable, reject was unfavorable. Ali Krishna Prabhu?
You're just talking about listening to podcasts, and you should listen to Krishna Conscious podcasts, but what if, like, there's certain things that karmis are making content, but it's like helpful for preaching, like this one guy that we know that he understands like the younger generation and their problems, and he's like a psychologist, and he like breaks down like, and basically he's like very relatable to young people, so we're able to kind of understand the young people that we're preaching to more through that. Is that okay or no?
Be careful, you're playing with fire. So many devotees, they had this conception, they go to universities and become Maya Pratagyanis. You know this verse? Chatur Vida, Naham, Namam Drishkritino Mudha Prapadyante Naradama, Maya Pratagyana, Asuram Bhavamashata. They're very intelligent, the intelligent people among the demons, and what happens is that intelligence is stolen by illusion. So be careful. Can it be used? Yes. But Ritirtam Yad Pratiyeta. The least we can do is, we should be listening more to Krishna conscious talks than that. 10:1. 10:1. For every 1 page of Karmi book that you may have to read for your service, absolutely necessary, you should at least read 10 pages of Prabhupada's books. We must inoculate our consciousness, that we should realize that, yes, okay, we want to preach to young people, so we want to cure their disease of forgetting Krishna. But we should realize that this whole Krishna consciousness movement is a hospital. It's a hospital where people are coming to get treated of their disease. And then I guess Prabhupada is like the main doctor or whatever. And then he's training people under him, now I've cured you enough, now I want to train you to help me cure these other people. But it doesn't mean that people that Srila Prabhupada trained and the people that are trained by the people that Srila Prabhupada trained should stop taking the medicine themselves. Otherwise, they're working on the patient so much that if they're not taking enough precaution, they themselves might get the disease. And sometimes diseases creep up on you before, and you don't know it right away. You realize it way later. So we should always constantly take that dose that the doctor has prescribed to us in order for us to also be an assistant doctor or an assistant. I guess it's called a nurse, right? Is there anything called assistant doctor? I'm sorry, I don't know. But whatever, nurse or whatever. So we should do that. We should always remember, okay, I am also a patient. I'm also a patient. So I need to take my save yourself before you can save others. That's the most practical thing. So save yourself, do your sadhana, do all these things. And if it so happened that you had to watch a Karmi video for like your service exclusively, then you have to make sure that you're drowning your mind with Harikatha and Krishna consciousness. It's very dangerous. So please be careful. Is that okay? Yes. Rishi, you raise your hand. Yeah, sure.
When we were at KSU last time, we were speaking of the species. We learned that there may be 8,400,001 species, because even professors are wondering now if computers are conscious because of artificial intelligence. But I was listening to a lecture a walk with Srila Prabhupada in 1977, and Dr. Patel was there. And they're speaking about artificial intelligence. And Srila Prabhupada explained that they gave it the wrong name. And it wasn't because it's not intelligent or this or that, which that's what I was expecting. But he said it's the wrong name because it's not artificial. The intelligence is coming from a person who actually makes that program or makes that computer. So there's still 8,400,000.
Anyway, people are all hyped up about AI. But you read the Bhagavatam, there's like much more advanced technologies than these guys are even close to. Read the 5th canto, read the description of subterranean heavenly planets. Maya Danava can create like freaking amazing, unbelievable gardens, and they're all fake. But you can eat the fruits and you get nourished. But it's fake. The technology is nothing compared to Maya Danava. Right? One of you raise your hands. Jit.
So wondering if you could explain, you're talking about there's gradations of Lord Shiva, like Sada Shiva, and then the Rudras, there's multiple Rudras.
Yeah, there's 11 Rudras, which are present at the time of annihilation. So we can see that one Rudra which was created, he was created because brahmacharis upset their father. Sanat Kumaras, Lord Brahma had 4 sons, and before that Narada Muni was there. Narada Muni preached to the Kumaras, or they just came off like, no, they didn't, on their own. The 4 Kumaras, they came out, and Lord Brahma says, okay, all right, my children, procreate. He said, no, I want to be brahmachari. So I want to be Brahma. So then, Lord Brahma got angry, but he had to hold his anger back because he sees that his sons are like far advanced in spiritual knowledge, and then Rudra comes out of that. And then Lord Brahma says it's going to be like 11 Rudras and all these different things. So there's 11 Rudras which are present in this material world, and they have different names, and they all come at the time of material destruction from Sankarsana. They all come out and they perform all these activities of destruction. So that's the thing in short, but I could tell you like a longer description of different verses if you like. Is that okay?
You can just tell me, where is description?
So one description is in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 6, text number 17 and 18. Another description is Canto 3, Chapter 11, creation of the Kumaras and others. And there's another description in Canto 5, where the names of the 11 different Rudras are given. In Canto 3, the names of their wives are also given. So, is that okay? 3, 5, 6. Okay. Oh yeah, Canto 3, Canto 3, Canto 5, and Canto 6. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
I just thought of 2 examples of like inconceivable things, but because we've seen it, that we're able to like comprehend it, like a millipede, like this big but has 1,300 legs.
That's crazy.
And then
legs.
If you like describe someone, there's something like this big that has like 1,300 legs, it's like, how's that even possible? But like Lord Brahma with millions of heads seems also impossible.
That's true.
And then also, I had to look it up because I slightly remembered it, but if you lay out all your blood vessels in your body, it will stretch around the world multiple times. 60,000 miles.
That's crazy. There you
crazy.
Go. That's amazing. Okay. Mataji's, anything? No. Anything else on the men's side? Yes, Vamshi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, we have been in this modes for so long, So, like, we see like goodness, passion can be applied in Krishna. So what about the mode of ignorance?
Can the mode of ignorance be applied in Krishna service? It helps you take a good nap and some good rest.
That's apart from that.
I never read in some part of Srila Prabhupada's book about mode of ignorance being applied. Because I'll tell you one thing. So mode of ignorance means laziness, right? So Prabhupada, once one disciple asked Srila Prabhupada, is it demoniac to be lazy? And Prabhupada said no. And the devotee was shocked, like, what do you mean? It's not demoniac to be lazy. He said, because even the demons are not lazy. It's just something completely useless, being lazy. So it's ignorance, better just give it up. Yes.
Guru Maharaj gave recently the class about Jayananda Thakur, that he told that even he's like he working like Shudra. He told, please forgive me for this, like, but like objectively speaking, like he's working like only like, and when even Guru like Srila Prabhupada gave him like a Gayatri mantra, and he's like laughing like anything because he cannot even pronounce. He's like never like not never, but very rarely washing his clothes. He's sleeping like everywhere. He's like eating like whatever he can. Externally, we can see this like Shudra engagement, and it's mean. You should be, the Shudra is like a very simple people, but even for Shudras we have like the place in Varnashama, like Guru Maharaj also told it. Even in Varnasham communities, like I heard that lectures, even maybe they have the prostitutes also for Shudras in the Daiva Varnashama. It's also
we can see even in Lord Ramachandra society, in Krishna society, there's prostitutes.
Yes, this means Shudra also can be in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. Everyone can come. But yeah, as far as we should give it up as much. Anything else? Yes, Mataji.
I guess it's more like a comment, because you say like, just give up the mode of ignorance, but like I'm constantly like in the mode of ignorance. And it's
Tell me
like,
about it, me too.
So it's like, it seems so easy to give up, but it's, it's not.
Mam Shreya Vyabhicharena. We have to perform devotional service. Tivra Bhakti, that's the only solution. Intense devotional service. You're following the morning program every day, so it can't be too much in the mode of ignorance. Well, we don't know how your japa is because we're up here, but if you're not falling asleep while chanting japa, that's good. Well, we should fight it. If you're falling asleep, we should walk. So. Is that okay? All right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu.